Indiana Jones. It's a podcast about Indiana Jones. Every movie, 1 minute at a time. Indiana Jones Minute.
Welcome back to the Indiana Jones Minute, the podcast in which we celebrate and discuss the film Raiders of the Lost Ark 1 minute at a time. I'm Tom Taylor.
I'm Pete Mummert.
I'm Jerry Porter.
I'm Ryan DiGiorgi.
Come on. Twice in a row now.
Did you just forget your name?
How many Ryans do we have?
I'm Ryan to Evan. Dag. I'm Evan. Whatever.
Hello, Evan.
Assistant to Mr. DiGiorgi.
Yeah, it's not a safe place.
No.
Judge me
Yeah.
harshly.
That's what we're here for. That's what these minutes are all about.
You gotta
People,
keep Evan in line.
yeah, characters as well as guests on podcasts are all being judged very harshly. But welcome back, guys.
Thank you.
It's good to have you both here.
Happy to be here.
Cover your eyes because we're at minute 107. And minute 107 starts with something cloudy happening inside the Ark. And it ends with a ghost floating past Tote.
Some sort of industrial light and or magic.
Some sort of lights and magics of the industrial sort floating around.
It is a nice kind of callback at the beginning because that's the same sound and the same kind of blue lightning we got over the Well of the Souls.
Yeah, it's that
coming out
poltergeist
of the
storm
Ark.
again.
Yeah. Which is also the same, we were talking about the same sounds and stuff Han Solo would have experienced in Empire Strikes Back right before he kissed Leia.
Right. Which means, I don't know.
I don't know what it means either.
We've been going through this whole time and making connect. The internet theory that we're trying to support is that Indiana Jones and his adventures are Han Solo's fever dream while he's trapped in carbonite.
Ooh, I like that.
And so far, it is airtight. There's no question. Like, how many bits of evidence do we have now, Pete?
Oh, I don't know, maybe 40, 50? It's a lot.
And every single one is ironclad.
I like the idea that Han Solo's dream is to be a slightly different kind of rogue.
Yeah. A slightly wearing glasses, but not necessarily more dependable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He wishes he was more academic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little tweetier. As this as the stuff starts to float out of the Ark, like little like the first initial wisps of ghosty kind of things, you see you got Belloc and Tote and Dietrich there, and you can see Dietrich, or maybe I'll just say Wolf Collar, sort of like reacting to stuff that wasn't ever drawn in later. Like,
yeah.
Like he's kind of moving like, oh, there's something on me, but there's like nothing anywhere near him. Like it's like, blue screen acting.
Well, Karen
the old
Allen gave
days.
an interview where she was talking about how this was the first time a lot of these actors had worked with blue screen stuff like this, and they didn't really know what to do. So it was mostly them reacting to Spielberg saying, "Turn around, look scared."
There's something on your arm.
Yeah, and like everybody apparently can do it now, but this came out.
They hadn't invented the blue tennis ball trick yet, where they would just be, look at here,
Right.
look here.
It's a monster.
It's a monster.
Here's the monster is getting you. Because there's that one guy who's like kind of he gets like hunkered down like in the sort of wispy stuff is going all around him and stuff, and there's behind the scenes stuff of Spielberg like trying as hard as he can to get that guy to do it right, and he's like no, you're not like falling down, you're not Jesus, and it's like a whole thing.
Well, at the beginning of this minute, and we talked about this last minute, we're peering straight down into the Ark of the Covenant. And is this one of those like Mary Poppins style arcs?
Yeah,
Like, where it just keeps going down. Like,
you can see Dick Van Dyke in there.
Yeah,
and,
does it? I mean, because what is it, 2.5 feet deep, or But I mean, I was wondering, does it go down like 3,000 years?
Or yeah, all the way to Zool.
Yeah, it goes all the way to like Exodus, chapter 20.
Yeah,
Yeah,
totally. I think that's the case.
Yeah,
That's why you say Zool. Every time I see this scene, I hear "Saving the Day," that song from Ghostbusters.
Oh
Yeah.
my god!
Because I didn't see this movie. I was a
just
little
ruined it.
younger. I didn't see it in the theater. I saw this movie probably around the same time as Ghostbusters or after it. Which at
That's
Ghostbusters
awesome.
I did see in the theater.
Cool.
Saving the day. Oh my god! Yeah, this arc goes all the way to Sigourney Weaver's fridge.
That's a fan theory.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's my fan fiction.
Well, also,
I like-
oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry. I was just going to say, I like the contrast in this particular minute of like, you know, there's a lot of moments in the film where it's like, oh, you know, Belloc and Indiana, like there's that whole part earlier, not to reference other minutes, but where Belloc is like, hey, you know, we're not so different. The classic villain speech of like,
Yeah.
we're basically the same guy. And then the end here being like contingent upon like, just the good guy is just better at guessing what's about to happen. Like he's like,
Yeah.
if I know movies, this is going to be a bad thing. Don't look at it, Mary.
Well, that's,
Whereas Belloc's like, everything's going perfect.
well, I've been waiting for this minute for a while because, like, we found out in the course of doing this, we're film scholars, as you know, and we're the first people to discover any of this stuff. But like when we were at Doug Henning's house in Cairo, and he's deciphering the headpiece to the Staff of Ra, and Pete, I think it was you, somebody found out that in that scene, he tells Indy, oh, by the way, don't look at the Ark of the like if it's open, don't look inside.
Right.
And I was wondering this whole time, like, wait, why did they cut that? Because
Right.
here, it seems weird. Like, you're like, wait, now he's remembering this incredibly important thing about the Ark? But then, as I was watching it now for this, I was like, well, wait a minute. This kind of, if you knew already that you weren't supposed to look inside the Ark, then this entire time up to this point, you'd be like, oh, these guys are all screwed. Oh, something terrible is going to happen.
Yeah.
Like, I think it works actually a little. I was thinking this whole time that, oh, that was a big mistake. Steven Spielberg, you don't know what you're doing. But I was thinking, I was like, now I think that this actually makes a lot of sense. I think it works a little better this way to, even though it sort of comes out of nowhere, like, don't look at it, Mary, and shut your eyes. You kind of put together for yourself that, well, okay, he is a professor of archaeology. He's probably read up on this stuff.
Right.
He's,
just his archaeologist intuition.
exactly.
It's just
yeah.
classic. When you open an old box, you don't look at it.
No.
That is 101 stuff.
Yeah.
Well,
The
I'm
thing is, though,
calling.
he's looking at it. He's looking right in there in this minute, and it's like, when's the cutoff? Like,
See, I don't think he is, though. I think he's
ghosts
looking off to the
flying out.
side.
I don't know.
think
I
he,
think this
uh,
minute here, like, right. Let me
Like
find
if
this
you
thing.
look at 26 seconds, for example, from his position, that's as looking at it as he can do.
Yeah, unless his eyes
All right,
are closed,
I'm-
but he's looking at.
I'm gonna
It's
take
like
a
if you
second,
watch
I'm gonna look.
the first 10 seconds of the Ring video. Like, are you okay? Like,
Well,
when's
that's
the,
yeah, exactly.
He totally is looking at it in second 26. You're right.
Oh, is he really?
I mean, he's looking at that direction.
That's why my question is does it start when the ghosts come out?
Yeah, it's
essentially.
like a countdown.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm calling bullshit on this whole thing.
The whole
No,
not
it
looking
doesn't.
thing?
It doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Oh, it totally is. God, you guys are right.
It doesn't make sense. It's inconsistent, with his lack of respect for the supernatural
Uh-huh. Yeah.
See,
it
no,
is.
and
but
for artifacts, and it's just all of a sudden, like, unless when he realizes it's sand, and like he has that little smirk, and you're like, okay, something just happened to him right there, where he had like a St. Paul moment epiphany. And he's like, I got to show some respect to this. I like that whole, the penitent man needs to genuflect. Yeah. You're like, because I don't believe this. This isn't who he is, and it's not the way he's acted throughout the whole movie. And I thought the same as you did, Tommy, where it's like, that's bogus, Steven Spielberg. Don't cut that scene.
Or else it's just
I
like
actually-
a PTSD reaction because the last time he saw sand being poured out, like everything kind of went to hell fast.
He almost got crushed.
He's like, well, I'll just outrun it. I'll just outrun the
Yeah. If you suppose that the knowledge of not looking at the Ark came from somewhere, which we don't know, and in the final movie where it came from, but maybe it's in a book you read.
Mm-hmm.
Then if you take that as written, then I feel like he actually plays it kind of well because the sand, he sees it's just sand. He smirks because he's like, A, I thought magic wasn't real. Great, I'm right. And B, Belloc's an idiot. Everything's working perfectly.
Yeah.
I'm gonna die still, but it's kind of funny.
Right.
But then when he sees the light, he goes, wait a minute,
Yeah.
magic might be real, just in case, you know.
Yeah,
And I
think
feel like that's his moment of like of switching gears.
I think you might be totally right, or at least I agree with you, which is as far as I'm concerned, it's the same thing.
That's the same thing.
Yeah, but like the only other time that he's seen something kind of otherworldly was in the map room when the light goes, blazing to show him like where the Well of Souls, and the look on his face there is like, oh my God, I'm seeing something kind of glorious and otherworldly and amazing, and I wasn't expecting this. And so maybe like there's the ability within him, I guess, to like when he sees this stuff, he's not going to be like, baloney. He's going to, oh gee, something, there's ghosty things coming out of that box over there that was filled with sand.
But if there's part of him that might have believed that, is it weird that he never told Marion, like, hey, if we ever do see this, you might not want to look at it?
It's, we're tied up to a stake in front of the Ark. Maybe I'll tell you now before things get crazy.
I guess I got nothing else to talk
I don't know.
about.
He's still doing what he always says. He's just like, I'm just going to make it up, and maybe I'll be right this time.
Well, you can see that he's searching for it for like a minute or something before he says it. He's like, there's something about not doing what I'm doing. Like, I'm not supposed to be, what is it? Oh yeah, don't look now. Okay, yeah. And so, yeah, it comes back to him. Like he doesn't have it like right in the front of his brain right away. He's got to get it.
This whole movie, Yahweh's been laying down these little Hansel and Gretel, bread pieces for Indy to find out what's the right way to go. You even said, Tommy, like, he had that sort of crazy ray of light in the map room. And then no one came up with, how the hell did Marion survive? No one had an answer for that. No, the big truck explosion. There was no good answer there. And then also, how the hell did he swim to the port from the sub?
So you're saying we're watching a movie, is what you're saying?
Yeah, no, I'm saying Yahweh's kind of subtly alley-ooping him.
I buy that.
Yeah, and because he's the hero, and he's like, oh, everybody else has to put their eyeballs deep in the Ark of the Covenant. And then all of a sudden, this guy gets the idea that he's the only guy there. He's like, let's not look. All of a sudden, after 2 hours,
at least one of those Nazis was like taking notes or like on the phone at the time and missed it, but and should have survived. But they all die.
Yeah. I don't know why the idea of a distracted Nazi is so funny to me. It's like he's busy with his grocery list.
Not now. We're about to open the Ark. Fine.
I'm not in lockstep right now.
Well, right. I have a couple of huge questions here.
Go ahead. What you said, where you said Yahweh's alley-ooping Hansel or Indy. I think he's alley-ooping Marion here, because as soon as he tells her not to look, there's this beautiful shot of her. And she looks kind of like Joan of Arc, like she's looking up into the heavens and her eyes are illuminated. Mm-hmm. And it's almost like she's the chosen one right here.
Yeah, but by the way, her eyes are wide open. Like when is she going to get around to closing her eye?
A beam of light.
Because it doesn't matter.
That's a little bit the alley-oop.
Yeah.
I think the thing is like you have to be tied to a post when the Ark is open, and then you're okay.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
Right.
That's the lost bit of scripture that no one knows about.
Well, what if we assume that the Ark can the Ark can sense intent, and it knows this is the person that dared to challenge, the idea of the Ark, and then these are all the people who are his cohorts, and these two guys aren't really involved.
Yeah, you would hope that if this is all, assuming this is all God's, direct handiwork, you would think that would play into it at all. They would be like, oh wait, Indy's an okay guy.
Yeah, but
he's a dick boyfriend, but he's got other qualities. He's not a Nazi. I'll only take care of the Nazis and the French archaeologists.
Yeah, but Indy has broken several, like at least 7 or 8 of those commandments that were in the box.
Yeah.
In his
See, if this is definitely the Old Testament God, he's not going to care who's there. He's just going to stomp around like Godzilla until everything's smashed to pieces.
No, it's true. It's true. But here's my big question. Who's flying around? Like, are these
Yeah.
are these
That's a great
angels? Yeah, are they dead Israelites?
It's Abraham Lincoln. It's,
Are they
my
angels?
grandmother.
Are they? Hey, are they spirits of the Egyptians who paid good money for prime burial real estate in the Well of Souls?
Rosarians.
Maybe
Like,
this is part of the deal.
Are they like the Ten Commandments in spirit form?
Yeah, because the Ark isn't supposed to have like spirits in it, right? That's not like canonical in any way, is it?
No.
Well, that's
No,
what I
well,
was
it's a
wondering,
really
like, when
old, you have a shoebox sitting around and like you use it to keep pencils in. There's going to be like some paper clips in there and
Also-
some other stuff too.
I see.
And since,
It's just, sorry, yeah.
Since Disney bought the Bible, the whole canon thing is being redone, so we don't know what's canonical anymore.
It's just the haunted
extended,
mansion then.
universe.
It's just the haunted mansion. Yeah,
They do sort of look like haunted mansion ghosts.
they kind
Well,
of
I mean,
do.
are they? Are they angels, or are they like dead people, or like I said, are they the commandments? And you're like, oh, hey, there goes thou shalt not steal.
Well, it seems.
What if it's everybody who has looked into the Ark before and now they're trapped in the Ark?
Yeah.
You know?
See, I like that.
That's pretty
But
good.
what are they doing? Why are they flying around? Is he just psyching everybody out? Like,
Yeah, it's just a feint.
yeah.
Well, they've been in there for
Or are they like
3,000
learning
years.
about the people they're about to off? Like, are they like, oh, let's figure this guy out before we?
Yeah,
do
they're
anything?
counting them.
Well, that was my second question. Like, is this an angel or spirit orgy?
Yeah,
Because
maybe.
some of those angels are getting a little fresh.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? And I
Sure.
thought those Nazis might want to start slapping some horny angel paws.
Gosh, you know what's super weird? Has anyone ever said this before? This is a little bit like in Close Encounters when the aliens come out and they're just kind of running around the place and like grabbing people's hands and stuff like that and kind of roaming around, and it's a little bit like that.
Testing boundaries.
Yeah, before they go berserk. Well,
Right.
I mean, as like a I was raised Catholic, so I got whenever you always had the sense that like God in heaven is just surrounded by angels, that there's like just he's got them on call all the time, like whenever he needs. I don't know, they're helpers and stuff, and they come down to Earth and they talk to people and stuff. So I don't know. I always just sort of took these ghosts as like. I guess
Envoys.
yeah, and I guess I used the idea of angels. I think maybe they were like, they get really crazy though too. Would angels do that?
Well,
I
that's
don't know.
like, are they dead people or?
Yeah.
And if you talk about testing boundaries, it's like, can you say angel orgy?
We'll
I
find
don't
out.
think they're angels. They just don't seem very angelic.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like they are agents of God. Somebody just said that, but yeah, maybe not angels. Is that possible? Does that? I think I like ghosts or spirits is good.
They sort of
spirits.
mount one of the guys,
Yeah.
and then they sort of like float around them, but in a caressing way.
Wait, I'm gonna need a time code for Nazi being mounted by angel. Where does that happen?
Yeah, really.
Because it's my new desktop wallpaper.
Can't we all just get along?
It might be the next minute. It might be the next minute, but in this scene.
They do fly around Indy and Marion a little bit in this one, though.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and they
And
sort of like,
they
it's
kinda
almost like
tap
they're
Dietrich on the
flirting.
chest a few
Yeah,
times.
flirting with Toad a little bit.
They do go up to them and they're like, "Oh, their eyes are closed. We can't do anything."
Right. Not these two.
Maybe they have nothing to do with God. They're just kind of Shishak's, people that he
Yeah, that's
buried in
interesting to
there
me.
with
That's
the Ark.
interesting.
He took the tablets up, took them out, put them up on his wall, and he's like, "Well, got to put something else in here. I have all these ghosts."
I have all these ghosts already.
Are like the people who are from the Well of Souls? They were just in there for the last 3,000 years.
Well, yeah, maybe
Maybe.
that's where the
Yeah,
Well of Souls
buried.
got its name.
Yeah, it could be like it could kind of be all of these things, really.
Yeah.
Probably the grandparents of the technicians at ILM.
Yeah.
Technically. I have a really good question. And be careful how we all answer this. We all know we've grown up with this movie in various ways, either first generation or later on. But, we see this, we know it's coming, and we know it's awesome. And it's one of the coolest things we've ever seen. Is there a chance that any of this is stupid?
Nope, zero.
Okay. I just want to make sure. I mean, wait, are these ghosts? Why are there ghosts in that box? There was sand. Why are these people melted? Is there any chance that any of it is, could somebody come to this today? And not just like a kid, or like a, snot-nosed teenager or something, but like a film person who's never seen a movie, who's never seen this movie before. Could they ever come to this and be like, oh, come on.
I think they could. I think a lot of this stuff, especially never mentioning not looking at the Ark until now, I think a lot of that stuff, it kind of gets grandfathered in because it's an older movie, but also it is referencing much older movies. And so like you can go, hey, this doesn't make any sense. But like the guy who likes Indiana Jones comes back with like, oh yeah, but he's referencing those cheesy old serials. So it doesn't have to make a ton of sense. And so, you got a lot of leeway there. But I think most of the reason it works mostly is because it's just really, it's stupid stuff, very, very, very well executed. Like it's shot so well.
Yeah, it could be stupid. It's like if it had been handled any differently, it could have been stupid. Mm-hmm. But like I said, we know it's awesome.
Completely blown away that they were going to show the Ark opened.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just because I was like, well, what are they going to find?
Right.
And then when I saw that it was sand, I was more blown away because it was like, that was whatever I was, 10. I'm like, wait a minute, what is that thing that's cracking my head? And then you're like, it's irony. So first you go, you kind of realize, you're like, wait, it's just sand inside this thing that they've all been fighting over and chasing around the whole last everything. And oh my God, Hitler's going to get it. And it's just sand.
Yeah, like that would have been the end of the movie in like the 40s or something, or the 50s. Like that would have been like Orson Welles. You find this thing, and haha, you just get sand.
Yeah,
and that's it.
But would that have been a good ending of this movie as well? Like that's not the ending we have, but if this had turned out to be a fake,
I feel like you could make that work.
Or I know the way they would the Orson Welles in my head is not, they wouldn't come out and say it would be what you have here without all the ghosts and melting people and stuff. It would be you reach in and there's sand, you're like, oh well, God damn it, I don't have the 10 Commandments. I thought I was gonna have the 10 Commandments in here, and somehow I failed, even though this is probably the actual Ark of the Covenant. So there's a kind of Maltese Falcon kind of. That's what I'm thinking of. The Maltese Falcon. That's not Orson Welles at all. I'm thinking of the Maltese Falcon. Malta. There you go, Jerry. We're back in Malta.
Well, what's cool about this ending is that there's nothing in the Ark, and it's still very satisfying. Like it's still, and it's hard to like make a letdown a satisfying ending.
Right. Yeah.
But there's no safe zone. There's no is that a failure? You're like, well, why wouldn't the 10 Commandments, first of all, Moses freaking smashed them.
Yeah.
So they could have just been bits and pieces anyway. We don't know how much when he smashed them, how pulverized they were. That could just be the 10 Commandments.
He could have just ground them down to dust.
Yeah. Exactly.
I'm hopping mad. I'm going to grind these things.
Really trying to make his point, Moses. Back off.
You're all going to watch.
And, those guys view it as a failure.
Yeah.
It's like you got to memorize them. I'm going to get rid of them now.
Yeah.
And you have to still know what's on them.
There is going to be a quiz.
Yeah.
I feel like if they tried to do that ending today, there would be some weird moral about like, well, we didn't find the 10 Commandments, but we learned a lot about ourselves. But this is a much more satisfying of like, well, we didn't find the 10 Commandments, and this guy's head's going to explode.
The real treasure is watching a man's head explode.
Yeah.
So my favorite part of this minute, though, is Tote looking around confusedly.
Yeah.
And it's almost like it was like they were giving him, stage direction, and they happened to be filming it. And they're like, you know what? Let's put that in.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, he's listening to something that somebody's saying behind the camera. He's like, what? Oh, ghosts? Okay.
I got one more little thing that I like. About halfway through, when you see Indy and Marion tied up to that lampshade looks like either R2-D2's head or the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon.
Oh, yeah.
Wait a minute, I'm going to go look.
Just got to
No, it does. That's really, I don't know what that is. I thought it was like an eye.
Yeah, it does look
I always thought it was like
an
an
eye
eye too, yeah. Does it not have like some sort of German Nazi regalia on it or something? Or is it just a big, is it like a star?
What is that, actually?
That's really weird.
It's
and
the
why is
model
it?
of Sky City, Cloud City.
I think it might be a light, like the bottom of a light thing, like one of those dome lights.
But aren't they just like they're sort of in the middle of nowhere here, right?
Yeah.
Well, they're in Malta.
Okay, right.
They brought a lot of stuff.
They're just like, all right,
We got our
set this light.
generator,
Yeah.
our lamps, our banners on sticks, our post with R2D2.
Oh, I brought the ball for the top of the Christmas tree. Do we need that? No? Okay.
Because if they're just tied to something that the Nazis constructed there like 10 minutes ago, they could probably just leave. It's not stuck in there very well.
Yeah. They only just finished this whole thing.
Right.
Cement's probably still moist. Well, listen. Why don't we put this one to bed, put ourselves to bed, and then we'll come back tomorrow and see what happens to all these neat, friendly spirits. Does that sound good?
I love it.
All right.
Perfect.
Well, before we do that, Evan and Ryan, do you have anything you'd like to share with the nice people?
I didn't bring enough for everyone.
Well, we
Oh,
both
no.
worked on the Jackbox Party Pack 3, which is coming out soon. And you could go to
Oh, yeah.
jackboxgames.com and find it when it's out.
Yep.
How about that?
5 party video games that you will love to play with your friends and enemies.
Ooh. We're allowed to play with enemies?
Yeah, I encourage it.
Oh, it's awesome. You can vanquish them.
You can make them feel real dumb, yeah.
Excellent.
Find some Nazis.
Yeah.
Yep. That was going to be our slogan, and we thought, I don't know. Should the slogan be play with some Nazis?
How about defeat some Nazis?
That's better.
Okay. We'll work on that. Pete, where can Nazis and regular folk come to visit us and our show?
Yeah, if you want to come make us look dumb, it's not hard. You can find us on Facebook. We have a special page, Indiana Jones Minute and the Listener's Crusade, or find us online at theindianajonesminute.com.
And while you're doing that, or after you do that, or because you're doing that, visit us tomorrow, right here, same time, same channel, for minute 108 of Raiders of the Lost Ark, here on the Indiana Jones Minute. Don't look at it.
I'm sorry.
I'm a ghost.
You sound like the horse from the other episode.
Yeah. Go get him, Indy.